the Starfleet life with the USS Dauntless. Are you brave enough to be a Starfleet officer? Do you have what it takes?
Greetings. I'm Admiral Owen Swart, Commanding Officer of the USS Dauntless, and this is the briefing with the Admiral for Stardate -250422.1. I am the Admiral in question, and today we're going to be talking about the Dauntless's new operations console. But before we do that, let's just do the regular housekeeping. We record these sessions every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. South African Standard Time. If you're an active duty member of the Dauntless crew, you are welcome to join us live for these sessions here in Discord. It is, of course, an awkward time, so nobody is expected to join, but you are welcome if you're available. If you can participate in the chat in the screening room channel in Discord. There's a chat on the side, and you're welcome to have a conversation with the other participants, or you can ask me a question. If you do want to ask me a question or flag a comment and make sure that I see it, please @tag me in the chat so that when I get to the Q&A section at the end, I can scroll back up through the chat and see which messages are directed at me, because there's often a lot of commentary back and forth and I can't address all of it, but I will address anything that is flagged for my attention by @tagging me. So please make sure that you do that. If you can't join us live, or if you're not an active duty member of the crew, you can watch us on YouTube. We do try to stream live to YouTube at the same time. It looks like that's working this time. Alternatively, it is available for view after the fact. If you're not available at 12:30 on a Tuesday, which is an awkward time, it will also be uploaded to Facebook after the time, so you can watch it back there as well. Who are we? We are the USS Dauntless, which is a future-focused advocacy and action group that is at its core a Star Trek fan club. We promote the ideals of the utopic future as envisioned and depicted in the Star Trek franchise, and do what we can every day to take action towards that optimistic future. We are based in Cape Town, South Africa, and we are a chapter of Starfleet, the International Star Trek Fan Association Incorporated, which is the world's largest fan-run Star Trek organization. We're one of many chapters, and we are the one, as I mentioned, here in Cape Town, South Africa, but we have members online in cities around the world. Right, so purpose of today's briefing is to look at the Dauntless's new operations console. What does that mean? So within the Dauntless, we borrow from Star Trek the structure of the crew of a starship, hence the USS Dauntless. That is the name of a starship. Obviously, the starship isn't real. The starship is the crew. But the organizational structures that they use in Star Trek seem to work pretty well, and so we have emulated them in a lot of ways. One of the ways we do so is that our crew is divided up into departments. Each department is responsible for a different aspect of life here on the Dauntless. I'm a member of the command department, which is responsible for administration and policy making. And then the department we're going to be looking at today is the operations department, which is principally a support department dealing with resource management. So that is making sure that people members of the crew have all the information and equipment and access that they need in order to do their jobs. And also they are facilitating the doing of that job by ensuring that the critical piece of information that everybody needs when doing their job aboard the Dauntless is knowing what it is that they have to do. So what tasks they have available to them. And to that end, the ops team has had an operations console, a virtual console online that they've been able to use to keep track of all of the various tasks that are involved in keeping a ship like ours running minute to minute, day to day, month to month, year to year, making sure that the people who those tasks are allocated to are aware of that fact, following up on those tasks, making sure that all of that relevant information is happening, and when the task is completed, making sure that it is checked off. And the tool that we've been using for the last X number of years, I've forgotten how long it is now, is a platform called Trello. We have been looking for the last year or two, possibly longer, I can't again, the mists of time blur together. How long exactly we've been looking for an alternative or replacement for Trello, because it has become increasingly less suitable to our purposes. So don't get me wrong, Trello is a magnificent platform if you're the right kind of organization, but it has become clear that the Dauntless is not the right kind of organization for Trello. Their parent company, Atlassian, markets their products to big enterprise customers, large corporations, that kind of thing, and we are not that kind of organization. We don't have that kind of budget, and frankly, the tool is more complicated than we actually need. So we've been looking for viable alternatives. We've evaluated a few that almost made the cut, but not quite. But we have at last, the good news today is that we have at last decided on what new platform will replace Trello. And as of the beginning of this month, May 2025, we'll be making the switch from Trello across to the new platform. So let me show you what that looks like. You may notice that I look a little bit different today. I'm testing a new camera setup. Hopefully it will turn out to be a viable replacement to my old potato camera. So far, it looks to be working pretty well. So let's see how it goes. All right, we need this screen so that I can show you what this looks like. I've done my best to go through these screens to pull out any PII. I am responsible for managing the personal identifying information of every member of the crew. And so I don't think anybody's names or anything are on here, but this is of course a live system. So I apologize if anything sneaks through. Please don't screenshot any of this. All right, so what we're looking at here is the old operations console. This is a Trello board. One of the nice things about Trello was that it was very customizable from a visual point of view. So I added a cool background to it, which is actually the LCAR's layout of Lieutenant Commander Data's operations screen from his console aboard the bridge of the Enterprise D in Star Trek: The Next Generation. So these buttons in the background are actually a real Starship Ops console. But overlaid on top of those fake buttons, which is just a static image, you can see I'm scrolling left to right here, is our actual operations console. And this is what they call a Kanban board, which is a nice visual way of representing the work that is being done. And what's nice about it is that we can split these tasks. Each one of these cards is a task that needs to be completed. And we can split them into several categories. You can see here there's an empty category called new. Whenever we have a number of automated systems that generate new tasks on the system, and when that happens, they pop into this new column here automatically. Then the chief operations officer, who is responsible for managing this board, or one of his delegated crew members, could log in, inspect the contents of that card, and then allocate it accordingly. So there were a number of flags. Let's expand this a little bit. You can see various different priorities that could be allocated to the card depending on what kind of task it is. You could also allocate a member of the crew or multiple members of the crew who are responsible for completing that task. And then various other interesting things. You could attach files. Let me find a nice one that's got cool attachments and stuff. There we go. So you could attach files from your Google Drive, or you could just upload PDFs or whatever and embed them here as well. You could attach images, one of which you could set as a cool visual cover at the top there so that you could easily visually identify the task. And you could also create and manage checklists. There's also a little chat section at the bottom of each card. It's a very cool tool. So that's how Trello works, right? So automations, the cards come in, they then get processed from the new column here. They get shifted into assigned so that the person who is responsible for that task can then pick it up from assigned. When they're working on it, they shift it to in progress. If they're waiting for something else to happen that they can't continue on that piece of work, it would go into the pending column. And then when they've done everything that can be done about it, it would be shifted into the complete column, which then acted as a nice long history of all of the things that we've done for the last however many years. And then this final column is just a list of templates. These are cards that could be duplicated. They had sort of pre-filled content that could be duplicated and added to other tasks to make things that much easier. Very cool, very powerful, and probably more than we ever really needed, which was we kind of expected when we adopted Trello that we would grow into it as a tool. So we built all of that complexity into it from the beginning, and frankly, it was largely wasted on us. But it was still very nice to use it. But over the years, limitations started creeping in, especially around the fact, as I mentioned, that this is an enterprise solution. So it's intended to be used by thousands of users, by very large, very wealthy organizations who pay for user licenses. Now, the USS Dauntless does not charge membership fees. We have no bank account. Our budget is zero. Insofar as we have any expenses at all, those are covered by anonymous donors, and we try to avoid incurring any kinds of expenses at all if we possibly can. So we could not pay for an enterprise license for Trello. And even if we had money at all, it's very expensive and not a reasonable amount of money for us to pay. So what happened a year or two ago is that Atlassian, the company again that owns Trello, clamped down on the number of user licenses that you could use on a free plan, which is the plan that we use. And it meant that we could then only have 10 active users on the operations board. Now, our operations department is less than 10 people, so that in itself is not too much of an issue, except that every single active duty member of the crew needs to have access to this board so that they can see the tasks that have been allocated to them. Same is true of every mission commander, which could be any member of the crew. Anybody could command a mission. Also, people like away team leaders, people like that, all needed to have access to this board, which is a group of people significantly larger than 10. That was the main reason why we had to start looking for alternatives. Another restriction that started to creep in was that we started becoming limited in the number of automations that we could incorporate into this tool. So the Trello platform has its own automation suite, which is actually very cool. It now has a little AI assistant to help you build your automations, so it can have things that trigger an action here, and then it duplicates a card over there or updates something else over there. Lots of cool little automations, lots of cool little plugins that you can insert into your thing, but they capped the number of automations and plugins that you could use, which was making all of the work we needed to do, or most of the work we needed to do, manual. So we had to get in, log in, some human had to log in and actually do the stuff manually, which the platform could have done on its own, except that they were forcing us to pay for that automation. So that became increasingly frustrating. As I mentioned, the complexity of this tool, while it's a very powerful tool and it can do a lot of different things, the complexity itself was probably daunting to new users. Although we are the Dauntless and we promote courage and dedication as values, trying to get people to start using the tool at first was quite difficult, simply because it looks very intimidatingly complex and frankly is quite a complex tool. Related to that is the fact that the mobile app for Trello is frankly poor. I'm not going to show you what it looks like on the screen. You still get to see the Kanban board, and it has most of the same features in the mobile app, but it doesn't update very smoothly. It's essentially a browser wrapper, so it doesn't have any offline capabilities, and not all of your editing capabilities are available on the app, and generally it's not very good. It's better than nothing, but not great. So it meant that updating things like mission reports in the field while we're on the ground doing an away mission, or calling up something while we're on an online mission on another screen or something like that became, it never really was anything other than difficult. So we always had to keep records somewhere else and then update Trello after the fact, because that mobile experience was not very good. And the other issue that we had, which was also never really all that great, was that the only tool in the Atlassian stable that we use is Trello. And that meant that all of our other equipment, all of our other online tools, mostly sitting in the Google space, we needed to have an entirely separate user account. Each of us, each user of the platform, needed to have an entirely separate user account so that we could log into Trello and use that tool there. Now, you can link your Trello account to your Google account, so you're doing a sort of single sign-on thing there, logging into Trello versus it's via Google, but there is a minor addition of risk by expanding your user profile to an additional platform, handing over your user credentials to another provider, and it creates what they call a bloated tech stack, or a slightly increased risk of security exposure. It's preferable, generally speaking, to keep all of your tools in one place from a tech stack point of view, just because it helps to simplify things, but also makes it slightly more secure. You don't have to have as many usernames and passwords, it's as many different accounts going on different platforms. So it's just that much better. So using this single account on another platform wasn't ideal. So years went by, we evaluated multiple other platforms, and I'm very pleased to report that we have settled on the new replacement platform, which will be using the Google Workspace environment. Now, the Google Workspace environment looks very different to this Trello interface. For one thing, there is no one overview board like this Kanban table that we can see here. what we have instead is a sort of central hub where stuff is generated, and then it goes out to wherever you are. Let's look at it, and I can show you. So let me introduce you to the central hub of where this whole thing happens, and that is in a place that everybody knows very well. That's Gmail. So if you are a human on the internet, you have a Gmail account. And what you might not have noticed for some time is that there used to be a tool called Gtalk, and then for a while it was called Google Talk, and then Google Chat and Gmail Chat, and it's had a number of different names over the years. It was called Google Hangouts for a while. And then 5 or 6 years ago, they announced that they were going to be shutting it down and it was going to go away. We actually used it as our primary communication system many years ago, before Discord, before Slack. We had our primary bridge chat here in Gmail chat, I think it was called at the time. Hangouts, that was the last name that we used it under. So when they announced that we're going to kill Hangouts, we moved somewhere else. We moved to Slack, and then since then we moved to Discord. But what I didn't notice until recently was that it actually never went away. So if you're in Gmail and you hover over this button here, you'll find out that Gmail chat or Google Chat still exists. Not only can you now send direct messages to your friends, but they have this tool, relatively new tool, called Google Spaces. It's actually not that new. It's been around for 6 or 7 years now. I just never tried it because I thought that it had gone away. Google Spaces is a collaborative working environment that exists right here in Gmail. Now you can find it here easily enough, or you can go to its own dedicated front page. It's a separate page on the internet. There we go. It looks basically the same. It's got its own URL, so you can have your Gmail open in one tab and your Google Chat open in a different tab if you want, or you can use them nested in each other like that if you prefer, whatever your preference is. And we created a space here in Google Chat where we can emulate something like the Trello board. So you'll notice, first of all, this looks very different to Trello. So this looks like a chat window, right? It doesn't look like a Kanban board at all. Where are all the columns where people can see all the tasks? Well, okay, so this is the default view. This is essentially a chat window. It is threaded. So when a message is posted, you can post replies to that message in there. But these are not just message windows. These are actual actions. And one of the things that you can do is create a task. So here is the task list, the central task list of the USS Dauntless, listing all of the things that need to be done, as well as a bunch of things that have already been done. Now, when a task is created here, in fact, let's do one. Let's do one on the fly. So here's a new thing. So this message came through a few minutes ago. New mission log due, priority 3 mission briefing with the Admiral, all hands, May 6, 2005. So that's this mission. So that's asking me to fill in the mission report for this mission that we're going through right now. Unfortunately, the automation that we've set up, and I'll talk more about automation in a minute, can't create a task automatically like it could with Trello. So we have to create a task from it, but we're just going to do it like that. So more actions, create space task, and now it's added it to the task list. It's a little bit messy on the layout, so I'm going to cut and paste this line of text here from the title and put it instead in the details so that it's nice and neat, but that was 2 keystrokes. Easily done. I need to add a date time. So emission reports are due on the 2nd of the following month. So this report is going to be due on the 2nd of June. And I need to assign it to somebody. Who am I going to assign it to? Myself, because I am responsible for this mission. Add. Easy as that. That task has now been created. But what's great about this is that the task doesn't exist only here. This has now been created in my own personal task list because I am a Google user. That is my Google profile there. And so it has been shipped to my personal task list. So Google Tasks also has its own web interface. It looks like this. It should appear, it's appeared in chronological sequence. So let's go down to June the 2nd. These are all the mission reports that I have to submit by the next June the 2nd, which I haven't done any of those. I'm falling behind, but that's okay. And here's the task that we just created. New mission log due, P3 mission briefing with the Admiral, all hands, May 6th. So it has already appeared on my own personal task list. But you say, I don't want to go to Google Tasks. That's, again, another whole page that I want to go to. That I have to go to. Fear not, because as you may recall from the video we did a few months back about calendars, Google Calendar is probably the best tool that you can use from a productivity point of view, and it's works here too. So here is my Google Calendar. I've hidden my personal stuff, so you can only see the Dauntless stuff that's on here, except for my tasks. I've got my personal tasks here as well, and that's exactly it. These little blocks that are in gray, these are tasks. So here is the task that I've just done now. So briefing text setup, that's to remind me to set up my cameras and sound equipment and everything for this briefing. I actually already did that, so I'm going to mark that completed. And you'll notice that they are listed here in the calendar at the time that they are scheduled to be completed. If it's a full day task, then it'll be listed in this pane at the top here, because it just has to be done by that day. But if it needs to be done at a specific time, like feeding my pets, then that appears in the calendar on that. So if we want to go look at the one that we've just created, we go forward to the week of June the 2nd. There's a bunch of interesting things here, and then here are all the mission log reminders. So where is the one I just created? There it is. So new mission log due, P3 mission briefing with the Admiral. It's here, so I can mark it completed from here. You also notice that there's a link in the description here that will take me to the mission report document that we spoke about in a video a few weeks ago. This is our new mission reporting system, which allows us to do it in Google Docs. So I can just go straight to the doc, find the mission in question, and fill in the details when we do it. I'm not going to do it right now because I already demonstrated how to do that once before. So that's one way of looking at it in Google Calendar. The other way is from this little sidebar down the right here, which you might not have noticed before. And it has several buttons. This is customizable. You can update this to add whatever shortcuts you'd like. I have already added the tasks shortcut here, and this opens a little side pane on the side here, which I usually have open, which lists, it has the exact same list of tasks as in the standalone web interface for tasks. So I can scroll down and see all of my tasks there. I can star ones that are especially important to make sure that I recognize that those are available and that they are important. You can also include emojis in the task description if you want it to be a little bit more eye-catching. Maybe you want a color code or something like that. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't, but those are all there for me. And going back to Gmail, that same pane is available here in Gmail as well. So the screen's starting to get a little bit crowded with all of this stuff, but it is available there if you like to have that available in your Gmail too. So there was another tool available here in Trello, which I haven't covered yet. So some of these, which one was it? This one. So some of these have checklists in them. Now in Google Tasks, the format does not permit a checklist. There's a small text field or a free text field where you can just add regular text, but you can't add a checklist to that. There's a limitation in the Google Tasks tool where if you create a task on your personal task list, you can add additional tasks as subtasks to that. So you can add a list of subtasks underneath a master task. That, however, is not possible in the Google Spaces task list. For whatever reason, this task list is a slightly reduced version of the full feature set for Google Tasks, so we can't have those nested tasks inside a master task. So what we do instead is we use a separate Google tool called Google Keep, which you probably also already use. This is an incredibly useful tool, which is essentially just Google's note-taking app. So you can take a note just by writing anything down. You can upload an image. You can do a voice or video recording, any number of things. One of the things you can do is a checklist style note that looks like this. I've got a few of them here. Let's pull one of these up. So this is a task that I have to complete for this transition process when we're moving from Trello across to Google Workspace. And this is the archival stage of the transfer process. And these are all the tasks that I have to complete under the archival portion of that project. Now this note exists obviously in a separate tool. It's not in Google Tasks, but if I go into, let's go back to Google Chat and find the corresponding task here. So that was under archival. I pull up this task. In this description, let me click off it so that it appears as a link. There we go. There is a URL which links back to this keep note. So it's just this URL from the top of this page that I've copied and pasted into the description there. So that's how those two link together. It's not the most elegant way of linking these things together, but it works. And it's only a couple of clicks and it's relatively straightforward. So that is about as difficult as creating a nested checklist within a Trello card. So we haven't really lost any functionality there. We're just going to 2 different pages to do it instead of 1, but actually it's not really any more difficult than that. What's nice about having it here in Keep is that if you feel so inclined, if you are a user of Google's digital assistant, which is now being taken over by Google Gemini, their AI-based assistant, you can interact with this list by having a voice conversation with your digital assistant. So I'm currently running 2 different versions of Google Assistant. One is my smart home, which uses the original version, and then all of my other devices, my pads and that kind of thing, which have transitioned across to the new Gemini version. And in both cases, I can ask it to read me this checklist, or I can add items to the checklist by voice if I feel so inclined. That's probably not the most useful way of using that, but it's available to you if you feel so inclined. Trello had no such functionality. You can also, within the chat, you can embed and share other resources. So files that are either links to external websites, like here we've got a link to the Starfleet database. Some of the tasks that I have to perform happen on the Starfleet database, like submitting our monthly status report. So a reminder is generated every month to send for me to go to the Starfleet database to go and submit our monthly status report, and embedded in the description of that is this URL, db.sfi.org. And the Google Space remembers that that link has been sent via this chat, and it's kept here in the shared tab so that it's available to be found more easily. We've also got various other documents that have been linked to other tasks in the history of the existence of the space, like the combat training challenge, or the reading challenge spreadsheet, or the mission log report one that we saw earlier. We've got the departmental monthly status reports archive. All of those are available here. You can also pin them so that they're more easily found later. So any document that is linked, or URL that is linked in a conversation that happens in the chat window, is stored here in the shared tab so that it can be found quickly. Now, when something is turned into when a message is converted into a task, it creates a thread, and now this is listed as a response. I can, if I want, just write a regular text response to this. Maybe I need to state for the record that I'm working on this task, but I can't continue on any further because I'm waiting for something else to happen. I can put that comment here. I don't have to go and find somebody on Discord and DM them or drop it in a channel there. I can if I want to, but it's much easier to just drop it here in the chat related to this task, because then it's all bound contextually in the right place, and it's easy enough to follow the thread, as it were, from the task to the original chat message to the update conversations as needed. I can also upload further attachments. I can even leave a voice note here if I feel so inclined. So that's got the integration then with Google Drive and Google Docs through these shared documents. So any important documents can be listed here, and you can find them easily enough that are relevant to your tasks. There's one more very cool thing about this environment, and that is the automation side of things. So when we were dealing with automation on Trello, as I mentioned, they have a native built-in automation platform that you can build automations on within Trello itself, but that is locked behind a paywall. You can install what they call app. It's like a plugin for the Trello board, which allows third-party integrations with various other tools, but only one per board, which is very limiting. Google Chat also has apps. You can install various apps that add extra features to your thing. You'll notice here that I've added a Trello app to our Google Space. That will allow me, with migrating our content across from the old Trello board to the new Google Space. Once the migration is complete, I'm going to remove that app. It's not going to be useful anymore, but that is available to us there. There's that level, which is a fairly superficial level of integration, but the more powerful version of integration here is that because it's all working within the Google Workspace environment, that allows us to use Google Apps script to start automating stuff really efficiently. So this is just some relatively light coding, and you can get your favorite AI assistant to help you with coding all kinds of cool stuff. But this allows us to do really cool things, like, for example, Google Tasks doesn't support recurring tasks. So, for example, something that needs to happen every day on the first of the month, submitting your crew report. You can't set it up now and have it recur every time. You can do that in your personal tasks. That's easy enough. But again, the Google Spaces version of tasks is a slightly sort of shrunken down version of tasks and does not support recurring. So I've built a system that allows us to emulate that through Google Apps script. I've created a special Google Calendar called Dauntless Ops. This is not available for you to add as an overlay to your own calendar. I've got it here because I built it, so I can demonstrate to you what it looks like. We can hide this because it's taking up more space. And all of those recurring tasks that come up every month or every week or however often that the crew needs to attend to, I have added as full day appointments in this calendar. So for example, the crew check-in list is a thing that I have to do. The fitness challenge is something that the chief medical officer needs to do. There's a comprehensive description of what needs to happen in the description of the calendar event. And I have then built a Google Apps script which reads that calendar. There it is. There's the calendar hook up there. I shouldn't be exposing that, but there it is. It reads the calendar event and then creates a message in the chat here with all of that information in, which can then be with 2 clicks converted into a task and assigned to the relevant person. So it's still recurring. It's just happening in a slightly more complicated way. It's a bit more set up at the beginning, but it's very durable, very reliable, and it's all happening within that Google ecosystem. So we don't have to go to external sources like If This Then That or Zapier or Make to have that integration built. I still do use those tools, by the way, from time to time. You'll notice that some of these are flagged with IFTTT. That means that was transmitted through an If This Then That integration, because I find that tool easier to use in some ways than you doing the full app script. But the point is that now I am able to code these things from scratch and have it all work within that environment, which wasn't really possible before when you're going from outside of Trello to inside Trello and doing all kinds of different things over there. So it gives us a lot more functionality from a buildable automation point of view, which means that we can make all kinds of cool stuff. All right, so let's just do one more sort of comparison between these two tools. How are they different, and why make the switch? So first thing is the way that it looks. Trello had this Kanban view. That's what this layout is called, by the way. It's called a Kanban board, which is very cool. It's nice and visual. You could get a good overview of what's happening, but overly complex as opposed to the Google Spaces view, which is just a simple list. It doesn't look as elegant, but it's actually quite clean, and it makes a lot of sense, especially when that list is replicated in your own personal task list, so that everything is where you need it to be. It's coming to you. You don't have to go and find it. Next thing is that, well, it's exactly that. It's a destination. Trello is a destination that you have to go to. You have to remember to open the tab to go and look at Trello to see what's happening there. Even if you're setting up your notifications so that it is alerting you when something requires your attention, those notifications just go into your Gmail list, and it's easy to miss them unless you've configured all your notifications and make sure with discipline that you have to go there all the time. As opposed to Google Tasks, which is just there where you live. It's sitting there next to your Google Calendar, which you're looking at every day. Anyway, right? You were looking at your Google Calendar every day, right? Because you should be. And if not your Google Calendar, it's there next to your Gmail. And you can even add this as an overlay in your Google Drive view. Like it's everywhere. It's integrated with the tasks list on your phone. If you've got your calendar sync set up, which of course, I'm assuming you have your calendar sync set up. So you don't even have to think about it. Those tasks are just coming to you. The reminders are popping up when it's relevant to do so, and you don't have to worry about any of that kind of thing. It's just there. So it's an integration. It's integrated into your existing workspace instead of being a destination that you have to go to elsewhere. The mobile app is vastly different. So as I mentioned, the Trello mobile app is clunky, slow, doesn't really support offline work, and is kind of crap. The Google Chat app, which again is this is the central point for this, looks basically like this. It's very smooth, very elegant, very clean. I haven't tested its offline capabilities extensively, but I believe it works fine, pretty much like any messaging app. You can type your message and click send, and when you get signal again, then it'll send it through. It's pretty cool. But what's nice about the setup is that it's not dependent only on the one app. It's coming to all of your apps. Those tasks are in your Google Calendar. They're in your Google Tasks, in your regular tasks, just on your phone's own task list because it's syncing with your Google Calendar. It's in your Gmail. It's in all of the places that you want to find it. It's there and waiting for you, and it's available. So mobile experience is vastly improved. You can just edit and update as you need. The only aspect of this that does not work on mobile, which I admit is a bit of a hassle, and I'm working on it, is the this, so embedding these keep notes, the URL for a keep note, into the Google task. So it's a relatively simple thing to do on your desktop. You go and you open up the relevant note, you pull the URL out of the address bar at the top of your window, and you drop it in the description there. Copy paste, easy. That is not possible from the mobile app. So the Google Keep mobile app does not allow you to share a URL for your individual keep. You can add contributors to the list. Oh, that's an important factor, actually. I've created a bunch of templates for a lot of the activities that need to happen. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but there's a bunch of templates here for various checklists that need to happen on this task list. And those checklist templates will be shared with people as they need to complete those tasks. So you don't have to generate and keep your own checklist. We've got it here available to you, and it'll just be shared to directly to your Google Keep. So you'll have it available to you if and when you need it. But yes, so there's no way to share a text copy of a, that's not true. You can't share a URL of a keep note from the mobile app. The URL isn't exposed to you. It's not available from the API. The only things you can do is you can share the note itself as text, which is not ideal, especially if it's a checklist, because then it's not giving you the latest version of the checklist. Or you can add a collaborator. You can invite somebody else to work on that list for you, doing a sort of real-time collaboration, which also is very cool. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't allow us to attach it to a task because we're not getting that URL exposed. Hopefully that'll come in an upcoming release of the Keep API or something like that. But as of now, that is a manual process that can only happen on desktop. So that can't happen on mobile. It doesn't mean you can't create the note and create the checklist on mobile. You just have to remember to go link it to the task later when you're back at your desk. It's not that big a deal, but it's slightly annoying. Another important difference between the two, of course, is cost. So Trello, in order to add more than 10 users or add more than one app integration into the board, costs about infinity dollars, which is infinity more than we have. So it actually doesn't matter what the price is because it's more than we can afford. This entire Google Workspace solution that we've constructed here, with all its tendrils weaving into each other's lives and across the interweb, all of that whole thing costs zero, nothing. It's free. You can, as an individual user, you can upgrade your Google account, which gets you extra storage and gets you access to more advanced AI features and stuff if you want to, but that's not necessary. You can use this tool with a regular Google free account. All of it is free. So that's a big plus. The security exposure issue is mitigated somewhat because we no longer have a separate account that we need to sign up for in Atlassian or Trello. Even if you're using your Google account for authentication, you no longer have to have that separate account which will have personal identifying information in it. Everything is now stored within Google, and Google is sort of best in class when it comes to security authentication. Again, no security system is completely impenetrable. If somebody wants to get into your Google and they have the necessary skills, they can, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. And it's when you link third-party tools together, that's when you create points of exposure. If everything is in a sealed bubble, then it's relatively more secure. So we don't have that security exposure. The learning curve when it comes to mastering this new system is virtually minimal because, again, these are tools that pretty much everybody already uses, right? You're already using Keep, you're already using a calendar, you're already using your tasks. Even if you're not using them every day, you have used them in the past, and it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty obvious how to use it. You've got a name, you've got a due date. Is it done or not? Easy. Is it a star or not? Easy. Straightforward. The learning curve is very, very slight. It's not a steep learning curve at all. Another thing that is no different is Discord integration. So Discord does not speak directly to Trello. It also doesn't speak directly to Google. There's no direct integration available there. So you have to go via one of the other established third-party integration routes. So you can either link it directly using a thing called a webhook, which is supported by both Google Apps Script and Discord. So you can port stuff in or out through that means, or you can use one of those third-party integration tools like If This Then That or Zapier or Make, which I'm already using quite a lot. So if we want to have new task reminders or something like that pop up in Discord, which we do sometimes want to have that kind of thing, it's no different to setting that same stuff up from Trello. Trello, whether it's coming from Trello or from Google Spaces, it's the same amount of work. It goes through the same channels. So it's no different. Looking into the future, one thing that's very cool is that Google Spaces and most of these Google tools have direct integration with Gemini. Gemini's right here. Gemini doesn't have much to say about what's happening in our Google Space at the moment. You can ask for summaries of all of the various tasks that have happened recently. It is not yet agentic, so it can't help you create or action tasks, but you can ask it to give you information about tasks that have happened. You can even ask it what it can and can't do if you want. Looking into the future, that will improve as Gemini, which is iterating very quickly, and it's one of the leading AIs this week anyway, one of the leading LLMs. More and more functionality will start pouring into this. And you can, if you wish, by subscribing to a Google One account, you can upgrade your Gemini functionality to even better stuff. Gemini is not yet in Keep, but it is in Spaces, it's in Gmail, it's not in Calendar yet, but it is in Docs. So wherever you need Gemini to be available, it's going to be integrated there, as opposed to Trello, where although they do have a native AI tool called Butler, that is again locked behind the paywall. So it costs infinity dollars to use that. There are no free AI tools available in Trello, but there are plenty of free AI tools available, and that's just going to get better in the Google side of things. Right, so that is the overview of those two systems. We're going to be switching over to the new Google Spaces or new Google Workspace solution basically from today. We're going to begin sunsetting the Trello board, removing all the information from there, and doing as much as we can to import it into Space, the Google Space. And then whatever we can't import, we're going to archive and make it available and searchable later if we feel like it. It's going to be locked away in a Google Drive somewhere, and then we can close that Trello board. We do still have a couple of Trello boards that haven't yet been replaced. The two big ones that we were using most of the time were this one, the operations board, and then the mission log board, which we closed a month ago because we moved that over to a Google Workspace solution too. We've got a couple of other boards that are a bit more niche, used typically only by the command department. We're going to figure out how to translate those across to the Google Workspace soon as well, so that we can shut down the entire Trello workspace, so we're no longer dependent on that platform. But that is not something that affects most people. This is going to be a more significant impact on the day-to-day operations of the ship. So it wouldn't hurt to take a look at those tools and get a sense of how they work, so that when we can start assigning tasks to you, you are ready to handle them. And if you have any questions about how any of these things work, you are welcome to ask me. You can ask Gemini, and you can even ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT is quite an expert in this kind of stuff. In fact, ChatGPT helped me build most of the integrations that we have. So that was a lot of fun. Right, so Q&A. Let's see if we have any questions or comments that need my attention. This isn't really a debate subject. This is more just kind of an info dump, so I'm not really expecting a lot of questions. That is fine. All right, good. I'm not seeing any, so we can probably call it there. I just want to emphasize that this new system isn't just about managing tasks. It's about empowering each of us to work more clearly, more collaboratively, and with greater confidence. And together, we're building the operational backbone of the Dauntless, and that means showing up every day with purpose, precision, and pride. That is all for today. Thank you, everybody. You are dismissed. Swart out.